Ready to turn it over?
It's here before we know it. Can't stop. It's good. It'll be kind of. It's always good.
It grinds on it. It grinds on you.
Oh.
No, you wouldn't want to see it. Good. You doing all right? So were you on a fishing trip?
That's good.
It's all right. That's why you keep us around.
So anyway, it's not that big.
That's just a scrivener.
Yeah.
That it has to be
Yeah.
changed on the.
No, yeah, it's, no. As long as we're all aware of it.
Everybody get a copy?
Yeah, I guess. Hey, Judy. Hey, Katie. Hello, hello. Good.
This looks better.
Uh-huh.
Did y'all test it out?
First time I walked in was, I didn't even know it. Somebody says, look how good that looks.
Hey, I didn't even notice it until someone said something. I was like,
Yeah.
and that, the podium there,
We've had that podium all along. We just couldn't see it.
Just couldn't see it.
Yeah, the TV cracked. Get a stack of these. Not fun.
I'm missing a Little League baseball game with Rockport. How important this meeting was for us.
Kimberly. It's on.
My mind.
Good evening and welcome. Today's April 12th, 2022. The time is 6:32 p.m. and this is a regular scheduled meeting of the City of Rockport Council. The meeting will be held in person in the train room of the Rockport Service Center, 2751 State Highway 35 Bypass, Rockport, Texas. Members of the public can view the meeting via live stream on YouTube. Public participation is valued, and citizens wishing to express their views on any topic or agenda item can electronically submit a citizen participation form in order to register to speak by going to the city website. Or if attending the meeting in person, register before the meeting begins. Using the same form, citizens can also provide written comments to the city secretary by 4 p.m. on the day of the meeting. The comments will be read and summarized in the minutes of the meeting. I'd like to take a roll call for attendance. Ward 1. Here. Ward 2. Here. Ward 3.
Here.
Ward 4.
Here.
Mayor here. I note the presence of a quorum and call the meeting to order. We've got a special treat tonight. We're joined by the members of the Rockport Fulton NJROTC, and we're going to ask them if they would please post the colors for us and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Order. Colors. Ready.
All out. House of Arch.
Order. Colors. Right. Ace. O. Bird. Arch.
You want to bring them back in? Want to bring the kids back in? The whole unit, please.
Follow the rings. Follow the rings right here.
What a very special night. The entire city of Rockport is extremely proud of you all and the accomplishments you've made. As JDV calls you, ambassadors to for the city of Rockport. We've got a special proclamation for you all tonight. And I'm pretty sure everyone's aware of what this unit accomplished, but let's go over it a little bit. Whereas the Rockport Fulton High School Navy Junior Reserve Officers Training Corps just recently competed at the National Academic, Athletic, and Drill Championships on April 1st through the 2nd, 2022, for the first time since program history, which goes back to 2009. Whereas the Rockport Fulton High School NJROTC finished 19th overall at the National Academic, Athletic, and Drill Championships of 27 nationally ranked teams. And whereas the Rockport Fulton High School NJROTC unit unarmed exhibition drill finished 8th place at the National Academic, Athletic, and Drill Championships of 27 nationally ranked teams. And whereas the Rockport Fulton High School NJROTC armed basic drill finished 9th place at the National Academic, Athletic, and Drill Championships of 27 nationally ranked teams. And whereas the Rockport Fulton High School NJROTC unit personnel inspection finished 11th place at the National Academic, Athletic, and Drill Championships of 27 nationally ranked teams. And whereas the Rockport Fulton NJROTC relay run, which is 1,600 yards, finished 11th place at the National Academic, Athletic, and Drill Championships of 27 nationally ranked teams. Now therefore be it proclaimed that the City Council of the City of Rockport, Texas, does hereby congratulate the Rockport Fulton High School Navy Junior Reserve Officer Training Corps for their outstanding 2021 and 2022 season. And be it further proclaimed that the Council of the City of Rockport does hereby declare April 11th through the 15th, 2022 to be Rockport Fulton High School NJROTC Ghost Rider Team Week in the City of Rockport. In witness whereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the great seal of the City of Rockport, Texas, to be affixed this 12th day of April, 2022. Mike, did you get the picture? Council, you want to join us and maybe get another picture with us in here? Yeah, just on the side. Commander-in-Chief, Chief want to come up?
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. I'm taller. I can stay back here.
Step here, on three. 1, 2, 3.
All out at arch.
Thank you, Mayor. Just want to say thank you to the council and to everybody else. It's a great team. No team like it in the United States. And I know we'll be back next year. Thank you very much.
Boy, that'll give you a chill, won't it, when they came in later? Moving on to item number 4, citizens to be heard. At this time, comments limited to 3 minutes will be taken from the audience from persons who have signed the speaker's card located on the table in the back of the training room of the Service Center and delivered to the city secretary before the meeting begins, or written comments received by 4 p.m. on the day of the meeting on any subject matter that is not on the agenda will be read and summarized in the minutes of the meeting. Persons wishing to address the council who have registered using the citizen participation form will have up to 3 minutes to speak. In accordance with the Open Meetings Act, council may not discuss or take action on any item that has not been posted on the agenda. While civil public criticism is not prohibited, disorderly conduct or disturbance of the peace, as prohibited by law, shall be cause for the chair to terminate the offender's time to speak. And I have two cards on the citizens to be heard comments. Bobby Smith, you want to come forward, please, sir, to the podium?
Good evening. Bobby Smith with Southwest Pipe Trades. My address is 814 Airport Boulevard in Austin, Texas. The reason I'm here this evening, I'm sure everyone has seen us standing out on the corner at the Rockport Center for the Arts. We are not coming after the city. We're not trying to cause any problems. We are talking to some of the workers, and we have found 8 so far that claim to not be making the prevailing wage. That project got $2,000 or more in city or in federal money. That means they have to pay the average wages for each trade. Like I said, 8 of the workers are not making that, they claim. We have had one come forward with a pay stub, and we are actively pursuing that. We've been talking to City Hall. We have talked to GrantWorks, the third party that verifies everything. Just wanted to introduce ourselves, say hello, and let y'all know what we're doing out there. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out or stop by and see us.
Thank you, Mr. Smith.
Thank you.
Jeff Hutt.
Jeff Hutt, 2201 Prairie Road. During the budget session, the 3 people who are going to be here after May, if you remembered what happened, you guys wanted to set a no new revenue rate. You wanted to hold the budget in check. Who was your fans at that time? It was the citizens. Who tried to bully you into pushing for a higher budget? Senior staff, the mayor, other council members. But it was the people who stood up when you were told lies. It was us who came to your aid. Now, I talked to this with Mr. Rundrett, but I have a big fear. Mayoral candidate Tim Jaro, in his opening statement, said that he is running to restore integrity, or he's running to restore this to the city council meetings. And this came about when he was up during the budget meetings, and he saw the way council was treated. The way that council was treated was bad. Your mayor and your city manager purposely tried to manipulate you to get a budget that they wanted that you didn't want. Those are the 2 individuals that recruited Mr. Jaro to come run. My fear is that his idea of returning integrity to city council meetings is for the citizens of Rockport to sit down and shut up and be quiet, or be ball gagged and put in a straitjacket, or be hauled off. And I say this because during that time, we had up to 5 police officers that was here during the magic budget. During the time we found an extra $200 that was in accounts when it should have been in one thing. So my fear is that we go forward is that we don't return to the time when there was conflict. The individuals that have created that conflict are leaving. Be careful that when we bring somebody in, that you guys have the strength and the fortitude to remember who came to your aid during the budget time. Who came to your aid? We are not your enemies. A lot of times it feels like it is, but as a council member told me, if we agree on everything, then we're doing wrong. Thank you guys for your time. Good luck to the 3 guys who are going to be here after May. Happy retirement to the guys who are leaving May. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Mr. Hutt. Moving on to the consent agenda. All consent agenda items listed are to be considered routine by the City Council and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member so requests, in which event the item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered in its normal sequence on the agenda. Now, I have a couple of forms people want to speak on before we get to the consent agenda. First one is from Andrew Kane, and he's requesting that Council Member Brundrett read this.
From Andrew Kane, 2106 Lakeview, Rockport, Texas. I ask that agenda item number 7 be pulled from the consent agenda for discussion. I appreciate greatly Eric Sonis's willingness to serve on planning and zoning. However, the current makeup of P&Z is not balanced, nor does it reflect or represent the citizens as a whole. With this confirmation, P&Z will have 6 members on the committee that reside in Ward 3 and 4, only 1 in Ward 1 and none in Ward 2. I've heard for years that no one wants to step up and volunteer. This is untrue. The mayor needs to look outside of the circle he runs with and reach out to the entire citizenship as a whole. I did a quick social media post and found about half a dozen citizens in a few hours that reside in Ward 1 and Ward 2 that are eager to serve on the P&Z. I instructed them to contact other council reps for more information. Advertise the need for citizens on these committees, and you will be surprised of the qualified citizens who will step up when they know there are openings. What is lacking on our current and proposed P&Z are property owners that live where most of the zoning changes requests are taking place. Wards 1 and Wards 2. Please pull item number 7 from the consent agenda and let the council members in Ward 1 and 2 share citizens in their wards who wish to serve. Also allow time for them to search for citizens. These committee positions are very important, and there should be no rush to fill them. Another 2 weeks is not too much time to allow for a proper search and involvement of the council as a whole over just an outgoing mayor pick.
And then we have Jeff Hutt wishes to speak on agenda item number 7.
Jeff Hutt, 2201 Prairie Road. I'd like to echo what Mr. Kane said, that presently most P&Z decisions are being made about areas in Ward 1 and Ward 2. The makeup of your P&Z right now is all white. Not a single person of color, and I'm not really wanting to make a big deal about that, but it's no reflection of our local government. And if you look in the last several elections over the last years, the Mexicans in our community have come out, and really the numbers are big. So what are we saying? We're saying you have this large voter turnout, there's large people coming out, and we don't have reflected those people anywhere in our P&Z. Also, all the people in the P&Z, or most of them I know, live in HOAs. They live in neighborhoods. They have lot lines, they have curbs. People who live out in Ward 1 and Ward 2, like myself, you know, we're large acreage owners. I don't think anyone on P&Z right now owns close to the acres that I own or some in this, so we're not represented. Could you please pull this item off? Could you put it on a next agenda? And I know you talk about how it's difficult to find people. I had to call up the city of Aransas Pass, and I was put on hold music, and instead of George Strait telling me how to come find yourself in Rockport, their city council and their city government had decided to put messages on the hold line while you were waiting, explaining to you which boards were available and how to apply to them. Now, as a proud resident of Rockport, I do not like being outclassed by Aransas Pass. So can we please consider, take it off the agenda, put it, advertise it for people, and let's get some good representation.
Thank you, Mr. Hutt. Council, does anyone wish to remove an item from the consent agenda?
Mayor, I wish to remove item number 7.
Anyone else? Entertain a motion.
Motion to approve the consent agenda, less item number 7.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor. Ward 1? Aye. Ward 2?
Aye.
Ward 3?
Aye.
Ward 4? Mayor, aye. Thank you. Moving on to item number 7. Deliberate and act to confirm mayoral appointment to the Planning and Zoning Commission. Ms. Jackson?
I need to echo what Mr. Kane and Mr. Hutt have said, and I've seen this for the last year. I did not realize there was a spot open on P and Z, so I could not pull my ward and see if someone wanted to go ahead and submit an application. I did receive one this weekend from Ms. Bemrose, which was submitted through the website. Currently on P and Z, you actually have nobody from Ward 1 because Ruth Davis now lives in Ward 3. So we have a whole lot of people making a whole lot of decisions for a whole lot of people who live south of Market who don't even live there. And I would like to see this change quickly.
As a point of information for everyone, we, and Ms. Valdez could probably explain this better, but we run ads in the pilot for the committee openings, and then we also have applications on the website. We've spoken to council members at different time about different committees that have openings. In fact, I've talked to people about filling these, and we wait for people to apply, but it's difficult when no one actually applies. So when we get applications, we've spoken to people. I got someone you had recommended recently, but it come in after the fact, and we're trying to balance these wards. We'd like to have representation from every ward, but it's been tough. Ward 1 and Ward 2, I mean, they've been difficult, where people from Ward 3 and 4 seem to volunteer more. If you look at the election results, how many people vote in Ward 1 and 2, they're not quite the same numbers, even though they're the same number of qualified voters. But Wards 3 and 4 are typically the ones that vote heavier. So this individual had applied, he was interviewed several times, showed a willingness to what we asked for is people to come to us with an open mind, not have any preconceived notions about things, be willing to listen to all the applications, because every application that comes in has to be treated on its own merit. And we can't we try to avoid having people that come in with decisions already made. So you've got a motion to? Okay.
Is it possible to, I know we advertise in the pilot, I mean, I see those in the pilot, and the applications are on the city website. Can we do more of a media blast, social media blast, I guess? That's for you, Mr. Warren. So somehow to add, where our vacancies currently are, Parks Board, P&Z, wherever we have those vacancies. for our
Absolutely.
boards.
When we have a vacancy that is not term-related, say midterm, someone leaves for various reasons, we need to communicate clearly with the council so that you guys can beat the bushes in your district, so that you can find somebody, and we need to advertise at least at a minimum on Facebook and on our webpage to get the word out.
And we've, in the process, for those of you that may not know, a lot of these appointments renew in June of every year. So the mayor, typically the last meeting in May, will ask for volunteers, or ask the council for people to bring forward volunteers for the committees and do a search that way. This June, there are a bunch of people that are terming out, and there'll be more openings, so there'll be several openings in all of the different committees because people's term will expire. I don't have those in front of me, but I know that I was looking at them earlier, well, actually last week, and there's going to be several appointments that are going to be available again in June. But this one, we've had difficulty convening P&Z because we haven't been able to get a quorum. So we felt after talking with the building department that we need to get this filled, because now we're moving into vacation time and things, and people will be out of town. If we don't have a quorum, it's impossible to help people move forward, especially with the shot clock that exists. that the state legislature has given us. So that's why we're making this appointment. There's more of them coming up in June.
And I will say that I have asked the mayor for some applications. Hey, look, some people from the ward have applied or want to, and that just has more Ward 3 people, and we have a lot of them. So he's asked me to stop looking so hard. I'll continue to look, but.
I mean, I guess where I'm coming from is I understand that we need a good balance of the wards. If Katie is saying her ward is not being represented, she has applications, I guess, where I'm thinking is, what is the harm waiting the 2 weeks? If we get some applications, if they want to step up, I mean, get qualified ones, again, you have to be qualified. It has to be something that works out. I guess.
Yeah, the only issue that I see, I mean, it's up to you all, but we have 4 people sitting out of the 7-member committee. If one was missing, we wouldn't be able to have the hearing tonight. And we've had to cancel meetings in the recent past for lack of a quorum.
Echo what the mayor is saying. So I've been on for the council 10 years, we all know. It has always been an issue with Ward 2, getting individuals to come out and volunteer to get on one of these commissions or boards or anything that we have. I have personally myself put out stuff on my personal page to see if we can get people on here. There has been some people that have gone off and tried to come back on, I know, but who had an attendance problem. So there's, just because you're part of the board doesn't mean you still have to make these meetings. If you miss so many, then, they can obviously kick you off the board. So that's another deal. And I understand, Ward 2 and Ward 1, if Andrew Kane and Jeff Hutt understood this, I don't see them putting any applications in myself. So, and apparently Jeff Hutt lives in Ward 2. I would like to see an application.
I didn't hear about it. I'm sorry, I didn't hear about it until I got a phone call a day ago.
So what I'm saying is if we hold off for another 2 weeks, we can get some more applications in. So, and then we'll see how it goes. We can then go from, you can look and see who, we think that is the correct person to do it. But as we see, I don't know. Maybe times has changed. I can tell you right now that all this entire 10 years that I've been on, Ward 1 and Ward 3, Ward 2 have been very bad at getting volunteers. And it could be because of the time of the meetings. I don't know. It's the working side of the town. 5:30 is not a very good time because people come in from work. People get off at 5. They got kids at home. I get it. I understand.
I move that we postpone the confirming of the mayoral appointment to Planning and Zoning Commission until the next city council meeting.
Second.
Motion and a second. Ward 1.
Aye.
Ward 2.
Aye.
Ward 3.
Aye.
Ward 4.
Aye.
Mayor, nay. Motion carries. Thank you. Moving on to item number 14. Conduct a joint public hearing with the Planning and Zoning Commission on a request for a conditional use permit for addition of 4 recreational RV sites located at 2328 Chaparral Street, also known as Chaparral South, Lot 1, 1.01 acres, City of Rockport, Aransas County, Texas, currently zoned B1 General Business District. The time is 7:01 and the public hearing is opened. And I have, we do have a quorum. I do have, let's see here, 14, 22. No, I guess we're good. Okay, so we have, there'll be a meeting this Monday to discuss this. And now, this is for the, a cup for these RV sites. Does anyone wish to speak during this portion of the hearing.
When I looked at, I live on Prairie Road, so Chaparral's kind of, when I looked at this, it seemed like there was only a couple of properties on Chaparral zoned B1. Is that correct? Maybe 3 properties or 4 properties? Why is that? Why do you have that B1 designation in an R, in an R1, on an R1 street where all the other properties are
Probably
R1?
historically been that way, I would guess.
Okay. I mean, is that the, yes, sir?
When something is annexed in, when there's a neighborhood built, it reverts to R1, and that's why they're R1.
Right, but this is B1, and there's like 3 or 4 lots in this area that are B1, and I was just kind of curious why they're B1 surrounded by all R1s.
I believe,
Yes, sir.
correct me if I'm wrong, but it's the Fulton Outlot's front on FM 3036 as well. And they run from 3036 to Chaparral.
No, this is like Chaparral. You go up and you get out of Fulton, and you have a couple of lots, maybe 4 or 5, that are B1. I mean, I don't have an issue. I'm just kind of curious why those are B1.
We can go back and research the history.
Oh, that's you guys. Okay, perfect. That was my question. Yes, ma'am. No, perfect. You're my neighbor. Good luck.
No, but originally the Fulton Outlots front from FM 3036 to Chaparral. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
But I think that's maybe why it's not R1 right there.
Right.
So this is property owned by Mr. and Mrs. Jenkins. They're here this evening if you have questions. Would you like to come up and tell them about your project?
Joey Jenkins, I reside at 2320 Chaparral. We have Paradise Oaks Coastal Cabins, which is at 2328 Chaparral. We have 3 cabins, log cabins. We want to expand to do 4 RV pads. And it's zone B1, you know, for commercial. We've been there since, we built the cabins in 2014. And we had plans of doing, 5 to 10 cabins. We stopped at 3 because it's me and my wife that runs it. We clean them and do all that. We're not young chickens anymore. So we figure we'll stay at the 3 cabins, and it'd be a lot easier for us if we have room for 4 RV pads. We just figured that would be, it won't tax us as much. We could still continue cleaning the cabins and stuff, and then, of course, we'll maintain the RV pads. We've got it fenced in. If anybody on the council wants to come by and look at it and see how we keep it, it's very clean. It's probably one of the best properties in Rockport, I think. Y'all are all welcome to come in if y'all have any questions on it and stuff. The back 215 feet is going to stay wooded. We're going to turn it into a little park for the people that, if we get accepted to do the RV park, the pads. It's going to be dog accessible. Probably put a little community cover back there, and then so that the guests and stuff will have a place to entertain themselves. So we hope y'all accept it. Any questions, like I said, come by and y'all are free to come and look. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jenkins. And again, if anyone else would like to make a comment during this public hearing, they're welcome to do so. If not this Monday at 5:30, there'll be a meeting in this room, and this will be discussed with P&Z. Nothing else? Okay. The time is 7:07, and the joint public hearing is closed. Moving on to the regular agenda, item number 12. Hear a presentation from the water quality specialist from the San Patricio Municipal Water District.
Mayor and council, we have a presentation tonight from members of the San Patricio Municipal Water District. Our Assistant Director of Public Works, Mr. Gene Camargo, would like to make some opening remarks and then introduce our guest.
Please.
Our guests tonight are Brian Williams, General Manager, San Patricio. Man, I got nervous. San Patricio Municipal Water District. Jake Crumlow, Man of Operations and Maintenance for the Water District. And then our Water Quality Consultant, Brian Biscoff, with, I like to call it TMB, but it's Thornton, Musso, and Billaman, right? Thank you. We're here tonight to discuss the notice of violation that we did receive from Texas Commission on Environmental Quality regarding our drinking water and trihalomethanes. And I just want to set the background. What we were measuring is total trihalomethanes in our water. All water systems use chlorine to disinfect water, and it's required by federal and state law to sample for trihalomethanes on a regular basis quarterly. Drinking water standards are called maximum contaminated levels. Some maximum contaminant levels are set to limit risk from chemicals in the drinking water. Some MCLs, is the abbreviation for maximum contaminated level, or limit the daily amount consumed. Some limit the amount averaged over a long period of time, such as trihalomethanes, which are mandated to be sampled quarterly. The trihalomethane maximum contaminant level is set at a level that balances the immediate risk of bacterial contamination should the water not adequately be disinfected. We've got to have chlorine in the water to prevent waterborne diseases and make sure sanitary health and safety are maintained. That MCL is also balanced with the long-term health risks that are potentially associated with long-term exposure of trihalomethanes. EPA and TCEQ have set the maximum contaminated level for 80 parts per billion, or 0.08 milligrams per liter, as an annual average. So 4 quarters make up an average. We exceeded in the third and fourth quarter of 2021, but we did not bust our average until the first quarter in January of 2022. We have 4 sampling locations within our distribution system for trihalomethane. Those sites are David Loop, South Tower, 4th Street in Kossuth, 903 Palmetto, the old Fulton Water Tower site, and Sportsman's Manor on Highway 35 North. The site where we exceeded the maximum contaminated level was at the South Tower in Kossuth, 4th Street site. We received the notice again, like I said, in the first quarter. While receiving the notice of violation, the measurement we got for trihalomethanes was within the limit at 0.07. We exceeded the quarterly averaging for the location by 0.002 milligrams per liter. Recently, we commissioned a test to measure the trihalomethanes for the 4th Street Tower, and we had a value of 0.057, way under the MCL. We expect that the next sampling done for the second quarter should put us back in compliance with our quarterly averaging. As you are aware, we receive our water from San Patricio Water District, a fully treated water supply. So at this time, I'd like to introduce Jake Crumlow, who's going to tell you about some of the third quarter difficulties they were facing and what they've done to ensure that we have meet our MCL levels for trihalomethanes. Jake, I'm going to turn it over to you, and then we'll answer any questions.
Thank you, Gene. I appreciate that. I'd like to thank the the council and the mayor and the community for letting us come in and explain a little bit about it. I'll do what I can. It's somewhat complicated, but trihalomethanes are formed when you introduce chlorine into water with organics, and they're called precursors, and it just happens to avoid farming them quite so rapidly. We use chloramines as our disinfectant, which is a combination of ammonia and chlorine, and at a certain ratio, you can feed that. It gives you a longer chlorine residual out in your system, and it doesn't form the THMs. Our precursors that we fight, or the biggest one is bromine compounds in our raw water. Nueces River is loaded with them, and so we have to use chloramines, basically. And what he is talking about in the third quarter, what happened to us, is it happened throughout the whole state last year. It used to rain, as you remember last year. The whole state had a lot of rain. All the reservoirs and rivers were flowing. And so as a result of that, it washed a lot of the organics out of the fields and into the rivers and channels and lakes and things like that. So when they came to, the drinking water plants, we had these additional organics that we weren't really anticipating. Although we were feeding chloramines during that time, chloramines will form THMs over a given length of time. And that's kind of as time, in distribution, ground storage tanks, elevated tanks, and things like that, they continue to grow even though you have done basically everything you can. This was something that happened throughout the whole area. We had the issue, which, we provide water to almost everybody in San Patricio except for Sinton. We provide water to Port A, Rockport, Ingleside, Gregory, Portland. So the water that left our plant, although it wasn't above the MCLs, it was elevated to the point where as time allowed in distribution and ground storage tanks and that some of the MCLs were exceeded. Corpus, same thing. They had the same problems. It wasn't just us. It was everybody treating water with chloramines or even chlorine. So since then, the water has basically come back to normal somewhat, and the THMs are coming down. Like you said, he was at 57 the other day. We're leaving the plant at about a 30 right now. So, and at the meter, it's about a 30 at Rockport's meter. So the numbers are back down, result of the changing water quality that in the raw water, as well as through this whole procedure, I guess. We've been working with TCQ and different consultants in that, and we've made several changes at the water treatment plant. It was not that we were doing anything wrong or anything, but whenever you see it, you got to react to what you're doing. And so working with the guys at TCQ and consultants like Brandon and some of the others, we've changed some of the ways we chlorinate the water. We've switched some things around and made some adjustments, and we have seen changes throughout, the last 5, 6, 7 months, something like that. And it's worked it down, like what he was saying. He had pretty high numbers. I think we were leaving around a 70 at one point, but we're down to 28 now, and this will go away. It was a source water issue, and we kind of worked our way through it. The public notices having to do it's a 4-quarter sample, so you got 4 of them. You got to work your way through it. So you got to do, you got to get one every month. These samples are drawn every month, and so every time you get a good one, the last one goes off, and you just move through 4 samples till eventually. I don't know which one it'll be next month. Maybe that bigger one will drop off, and you'll fall below the 80, and that'll be it. But just wanted to come out here. Gene asked if we'd come out here and visit with you guys, and kind of explain what we experienced and what everybody else has experienced in the area, and that it's behind us at this point.
The only thing I'd like to add is we are taking a look at changing the residency time in that tower so that it has a quicker turnover. As he mentioned at the entry point, it's 30. By the time it's sampled at the tower, it's 57. I didn't have any other sites that had an elevated, they were elevated, but they weren't elevated past the MCL. The 4th Street Tower was the only site, so we're looking, talking to some engineers about aeration, turning that tower over quicker, and things that we can do to make sure that we're in compliance with our drinking water standards. So.
I'd like to make one other comment, please, and that is that TCQ does require public notification on any contaminant exceedance, and that our current levels are below the maximum exceedance level, and our water continues to be safe for consumption and all other related activities. And also, because of TCQ requirement, each individual that has an account with the city of Rockport will receive notice in their next bill. So the notice that you get is for this occurrence. It's not going to be another occurrence. So when you get your next water bill, there will be a notice in that bill of this exceedance. And we're going to post that on our website. We're going to post it on our social media pages. I'd ask all of you to contact your constituents and all of you in the audience to tell your neighbors, friends, coworkers that when they receive that bill, when they see that notice, it is not another exceedance. It is for this exceedance. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike, I forgot that.
Gene, you said we measure quarterly, is that right?
Yes.
And it is monthly at the plant?
At the plant.
Okay. Is there any reason or cause to monitor hours or test it at the same time, monthly, or is it a cost involved?
We asked Brandon to come in April 4th, roughly? Yeah. Come back in and test it and everything to see where we are.
Okay.
So that we would know what our averaging is.
That's gonna be my recommendation, is do additional monitoring to ensure.
I'm sorry, because we're live streaming, if you're going to speak, I need you to speak in the microphone.
Yeah. No, that's gonna be my recommendation, is to do additional monitoring, just to make sure that we don't have any areas of concern anymore, and that we stay below that MCL and, stay below that exceedance level.
We get a monitor at all 4 sites or just the Cassuth?
We just monitored at the south tower because that's where our
Where the-
exceedance
where it was-
on the averaging seems to be the closest. We took a large hit in third quarter on that, and until I can drop that average off, then even if we are in compliance with the MCL level, the averaging may throw us out of compliance.
Roger that. Thank you.
Anything else? Thank you. Thank you. Item number 16, deliberate and act on the certificate of appropriateness applications submitted by Donnie Garcia of Magnolia Square LLC to develop a food truck courtyard on the property located at 1001 East Concho Street, Rockport, Aransas County, Texas, otherwise known as Magnolia Street Square Food Court.
So we don't have any pictures or anything? We don't have any, or we're just talking about it?
Yeah, we'll pull the packet up. We get your name and address for the.
Yeah, my name is Donnie Garcia. I'm at 419 Olympic Drive in Rockport. So I thought we were going to have some visuals, but we're talking about the property. There it is, right there. We're talking about the property right across the street from the old HEB, which used to be like Magnolias, and there was a liquor store there and all that. We're now storing pipes for the city, as you can see right there. That was kind of a joke. They're actually on the easement. They're not on our property. Bonnie, the Carlisles and the Garcias purchased this property back in 2019, and knowing that the county courthouse was going to be approximately right across the street, we really didn't have any idea that the city hall was going to be right across the street. So the anchor project was going up, and in the meantime, we were just trying to figure out what to do, best use for the property. And back in 2018, I'll never forget coming to Pat. My wife and I came to Pat and said, we're going to buy Shop the World, and we're going to open up an event center, because every event center was trashed after Harvey. And there was a special need in this community for that. And we were able to do that. Pat was able to get that going for us, and we made that happen. We just didn't realize Jimmy was going to get Fulton Convention Center up in 2 years. That was a remarkable job. So for 2 years, there was such a big need for us to gather again, and that's what happened. And we made it happen. We had a lot of events there. Everyone had probably gone there, and we feel that this deal is sort of like that, and that there's a need. And when I introduce you to Bonnie, she's gonna tell you, because the Carlyles own the Mercantile downtown, and what they've done to the Estelle Stair building is incredible. That store it's number one. It's just what they've done there, and we're gonna do the same thing here at the food court. And what we want to do is get 6 to 7 food trucks. We're going to start local. We've already talked to all the local vendors, actually restaurants that actually have trailers as well, and they would like to be involved. And there's 3 questions that everyone asks when they come in. Would you like to talk about that?
Sure. Hi, I'm Bonnie Carlisle. I live at 5105 Highway 35 North, and I also have 406 South Austin Street, which is the Coastal Mercantile building. So thank you for allowing us to speak. We have been in business in downtown for just over 3 years. We opened our doors July of 2019, but officially started the business in March of 19. We were in the building next door to Rock Bottom Pub for about a year and a half before we purchased 406, which was the Estelle Star building. Moved over in January of 2021, and we have been very blessed and thankful that the business has been successful. We see a tremendous amount of traffic through the store. We are very fortunate that a lot of our people that come in are locals and also tourists. We get a lot of tourists. So San Antonio, Austin, Dallas, Houston. It's really remarkable how many people are visiting our town. But consistently, what we hear is we need family-friendly opportunities for people to do things downtown, and we need food. So that has been a really big sentiment across the board. People come into our store. We actually went through TABC, took out our beer and wine permit, so we have a wine bar in the back. If anybody didn't know or hasn't been by, please do join us there. It's really fun. We do live music at times on the weekends, and we do serve light food, but it's certainly not a full kitchen or things that people can come in and order off of a menu per se. So we would love to see an opportunity for people to be able to be downtown, stay downtown, and have food and a place to feed their families. We also believe that the more amenities, family-friendly amenities, that encourage people to come downtown would be very helpful, because we hear over and over again, even from our locals, gosh, I haven't been downtown in years, or I had no idea you were here, or those types of comments, because they just don't go downtown. So to have a driver that actually creates a reason for people to come down there and enjoy the space would be amazing. And it's a daily conversation that we have with locals and tourists alike. So we think that this could be a huge amenity. If you haven't been in our store, we have gone to great efforts to make it very comfortable and engaging. I did not grow up here, but I've been coming here for 25 years. We've been bringing our family here for many, many years, and we've owned property down here for 10 years. So love the area, but we want to see things done right and aesthetically pleasing. So this would not be something that would be a detractor by any means. I'm very picky about the way that things look. My own properties, as well as my home, certainly, and I hope that's reflective of my store. But this would have the same tone to it. So we would be very thoughtful about how we designed this space. We believe that it needs to be a fun, exciting place for people to be. We've looked at a lot of different models from Conroe, Texas, to Dallas, to Austin, And there are a number of food truck parks that have been done extremely well and are very attractive, and that would be what we're trying to accomplish with this parcel. Do you have any questions?
I like the concept. There's one that I go to that's close, like driving towards Georgetown. It's the same thing that and what they do is they rotate those food trucks out. And also the owner has a Connex box that he turned into a bar. So he gets to show it, he shuts it, and then when he opens up, that whole Connex box opens and it's its own bar. You walk in and they're the only ones that get obviously the monies for alcohol. It does close at 10, if I'm not mistaken, so I'm not sure if there's like an ordinance for the people that are all around that area, so they do leave at a certain time. I mean, the only thing I'm worried about is shooting from the hip for this thing since we don't have an ordinance. But other than that, I mean, we've been trying to get an ordinance done for a while, if I'm not mistaken. But I think it'd be great. I mean, especially once the project's there, people can come down, eat there, grab some food, make sure you have a good taco place.
The other news is, there'll be 100 workers for the next 3 years working across the street, which will really make it to where the food will be turned over and really taste great and stuff like that. So, and then when the Center of Arts is finished and there's people and they have events there and after it's over and where do they go? Obviously, they can go anywhere in town, but just having Latitudes and Boyle House and Apple Dumplings downtown is just, when you got kids and you just want to get a hot dog or a pizza or even just a treat, even fruit and ice cream and all that kind of stuff, we can make that happen.
And it's very kid-friendly. They have a big playground, they have cornhole
Games,
areas, they have a
yeah.
spot for a band. Saw the worst guy sing ever. It was terrible.
It absolutely has to be kid-friendly. And I myself have a 3-year-old, so I'm always looking for places that are appropriate to take him, and it's hard to find. You're not going to typically take a 3-year-old to fine dining, so even though he's very well behaved. But I think that this is a huge opportunity for the city, and it's just, to me, it's a natural spot to do it, and a driver to increase overall commerce in the downtown sector, which is really needed. We need the businesses downtown to be successful, and if there is anything that is a detractor currently, it's the fact that people don't stay downtown because there's nowhere for them to eat or get drinks and that kind of thing. So I think it would be a great project, and we don't mind being the guinea pig for your ordinance, so we would really appreciate your consideration.
And we'll have bathrooms.
Yeah.
I love the idea. I think it's going to be pretty nice for downtown down there to have, I love the restaurants that we currently have down there, don't get me wrong. But I think it'd be fun to have something, maybe come off the beach or come off ski basin, something you want to grab real quick, that's not fast food, and/or start walking downtown. Great idea. What is the ordinance that we're currently working on? Mike, can you help me with that one? I'm sorry.
We have a draft ordinance that we've been working on for probably the last year and a half or so until Miss Amanda left us, and we've got that we can use that as a start. And, the fire protection that's necessary, all the food handlers and everything, they'll have to have a license. They'll go through the county health department for those kinds of things. He said restrooms, so they'll have sanitary facilities. That's basically what the ordinance entails, is making sure that all those things are available. There'll be, places for outdoor seating. Of course, there has to be parking and those types of things, but that will all be incorporated into an ordinance.
Okay, but that's already regulated, fire protection, and we have state law that we got to.
Correct.
Or state guidelines. state law
Absolutely,
we gotta
yes.
follow
If
for
you've
those
got
things.
a cooking facility like that, you've got to have either a fire protection system and/or extinguishers. And like I said, the most important thing is the sanitary facilities for the workers to be able to be sanitary, wash their hands while they're prepping meals and things like that, and then for the customers to have sanitary conditions to use the restroom and wash their hands and such.
And is the ordinance just for a food truck ordinance, or is that?
It's a mobile food vendors ordinance is
Okay.
what we've got it listed as, and right now, like I said, we're surveying other cities similar to us and other cities that have these types of food courts and stuff to see what all their ordinances entail to make sure we're not missing something.
Roger that. Well, I hope y'all don't mind me the guinea pig for it, but,
That's fine.
no, I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, and some of the other things that we looked at in the ordinances and such, it is a mobile food vendors ordinance. So when we say mobile, it can be trailer mounted and everything, but it still has to be mobile and such. We've got some in other places where they've been put up on blocks and everything, and they're not necessarily mobile anymore. So that's one of the things we're looking at in the ordinance.
Is the concept, Donnie, is it to rotate them through? Rotate the vendors through like that?
Not like every month or something like that, but yes, that would happen, but there'd probably be, some that would want to stay
Or stay?
most of the time.
Gotcha.
I think they rotate over there because there's just so many areas for them to go, so that's why they rotate.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I love the idea, you both know I love the idea, I'm behind the idea, go idea. Now for the elephant in the room, the Heritage District overlay. How much of a variance are we taking from the overlay to do this?
So the variances that we're talking about is the build to zone, the BTZ, which is to build to the property line, which they're not gonna put a food truck right on the property line. Now, the restrooms will be over in the back, so that's what Frank was wondering about. What about the BTZ? Because there's not gonna be a permanent structure on the Austin Street side. So it kind of just, I don't think it applies, honestly. But the sense of permanence, like the structure built is permanent. And the restrooms will be, but that's the only structure that's going to be built. So that was my because so we don't have an ordinance for food trucks, so I wasn't sure how that played out.
Well, the question is, I mean, we've already done 5,000 million variances on the overlay for all kinds of spaces within the overlay. So is this another?
Well, that's the thing, we're not even sure that a variance would apply, because I don't believe that the BTC applies to this project, because they're not building a structure on the Austin Street side. And then the sense of permanence was what Frank wanted you guys to clarify, because obviously food trucks are not permanent. Now, the structures that are going to be built will be, obviously.
Yeah, the restrooms will be permanent.
Yes,
I'm guessing the fence will be permanent.
yes.
But does that make it permanent? That would be, I can understand where that question is coming
Yeah.
from. Because to me, it's just this great big lot with a bathroom. Woo.
The staff supports the concept. We like it too. I think it would be an asset to downtown, but we want you guys to figure out if it requires a variance.
When Amanda was here, I did actually pitch the idea, that same idea for our natural gas property. That big old lot that we have,
Mhm.
and the city be the landlords to it. Another way to bring that up.
Katie or Carrie, is it going to require a variance from us?
Well, that's what we're not really clear on, because the BTZ zone is that you build your structure to the property line, Austin Street. But there's not going to be a structure there. The only structure is the bathrooms, and they're in the back. And the sense of permanence, that your structure, your business's sense of permanence, but food trucks are not permanent. But the structures that are being built are. It's a gray area for us.
Okay. I get, does that need to be legal? I mean, if the motion is to approve, does it incorporate a variance in it for the heritage?
I don't think we're looking at a variance. the way I read it. I mean, there's no permanent structure.
Right.
There's,
I'm sorry.
There is no request for a variance. We do not see the need, but you do bring up a good point with the Heritage District Overlay Code that I think we need to take the idea, lay it up against the Heritage District Overlay Code to see if there is any major conflicts, and then take a look at it, and then possibly take a look at the overlay code as a whole.
Well, I believe Frank did that. He studied it quite a bit. But those were his questions, the permeance and the BTZ.
yeah, it's a one-off. It's not, it really is.
My guts tell me there's no variance needed, because it's basically just an empty space with a shed and some tables at this point. We don't have a zoning code that says mobile food court. So unless we want to write a whole new ordinance, which I'm not in the mood to do that today. I don't know about anybody else. So I'm thinking that this doesn't really need a variance. That's what I'm thinking, but, you know, obviously I'm one of five.
Look right down the road, at the beginning of Austin Street, you got the fence there too, that,
She came in and got a variance.
that rock bottom hill.
She came in and got a variance.
Right.
Which would be the other thing, is Rock Bottom had to get a variance, but these guys won't.
Well,
a
that's
question.
because the fence, they wanted the wood fence, and the wood can only be 25% wood, and that includes the structure, and it exceeded that 25%. That's why she needed a variance.
Oh,
Yeah, it was not.
Does staff recommend a variance in this at all?
No.
I mean, I didn't see it in your notes on the,
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry.
the application deal. I
yeah,
didn't
and
see it
that's
was
why I was
requested.
asking the question. I didn't see a
Yes.
recommendation.
Okay. I'll move to act on the certificate of appropriateness.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Ward 1? Aye. Ward 2?
Aye.
Ward 3?
Aye.
Ward 4? Aye. Mayor, aye. Thank you. Congratulations. Item 17, deliberate and act on first reading of an ordinance amending the Rockport Code of Ordinances, Chapter 66, Offenses and Miscellaneous Provisions, Article 4, Sex Offender Residence, Loitering Restrictions, and recodifying same to Chapter 13, providing affirmative defenses to the ordinance, providing for penalties and enforcement, providing for severability, repealer, and an effective date. This one? Miss Mandy, thank you.
Hello.
Do you want to pin that up here?
Oh, I guess we can. It still needs to be updated though, but it's not the most recent.
I was gonna say, because I guess they're gonna want to see it. This is it.
Yeah, that's the most recent.
She brought it.
No, just that one for now.
Can you reach it?
Is it okay if I set this there?
That was bad. Sharp point to the wall, Judy.
Thank you. Just that one. Hello, I'm Mandy Mash. I do the property and evidence for Rockport Police Department. I also help with sex offender registry, as well as a public information officer. Lieutenant Marshman also assists with sex offender registry, as well as Detective Gerloff, who's not here. This has been a working ordinance for updating for us. We just received it. I know you guys may have some questions. Up there is the map from about 2 years ago to reflect the ordinance at the time. It's basically stating 1,000 feet for offenders can't live within a child safety zone. You cannot live within 1,000 feet of another sex offender, all based on the Texas DPS website for sex offender registry. We did this as part of RV parks that had a pool, the park, schools, churches, daycares. It has changed in the past 2 years, so it will need to be updated, which is fine. But you can see in the new ordinance, it's stating that we will have a public map in the lobby so that anyone can see where they can and cannot live. Any questions? So the main changes that we did was that Texas DPS website does not have restrictions for sex offenders. They can live anywhere. However, the city can have city ordinances. The one previously did not have a definition between child offenders or adult offenders. However, we did it to where it was established. And the reason being is if a sex offender is a child offender and they are on parole or probations, by Texas law, they have to abide by a 1,000-foot rule. 1,000 feet from a child safety zone, 1,000 feet from a school bus stop. They cannot reside in those areas. We had it to where it was all offenders. All offenders were supposed to abide by this 1,000-foot rule. That's not the case. And so we had to clarify between a child offender and adult offender. Bad news is it does allow more offenders to live in the city of Rockport because not all offenders are child offenders. So they can still live in the city. But it does keep our kids safe because they are now more likely not to live in those child safety zones because there's more of them. We have a whole lot more defined. The other change was we did not have any dates for penalization. By Texas law, you have 7 days to report within the city that you moved to. People were moving in a house and staying there for a month and then coming to us and saying, hey, we've been at this address for a month. Oh, no, I'm sorry, you cannot stay there. There's a daycare 30 feet away. Well, oh, no, I signed my lease for 6 months. No, I'm sorry, you cannot do that. We didn't have a penalization time frame. So what do we do? 7 days, the day that they moved in? Do we start finding them 6 months ago from when they found out? So those are the main two updates that we did that we wanted to clarify. And then, of course, the map is one thing that will be added. It will be updated. So, any questions?
You said the map was going to be posted up at the Public Safety Center, correct?
Per this ordinance, it will have to be public, yes.
Is it going to also be available on the website, or?
We can. I know that we are undergoing changes, so we should be able to update it as well.
You know, when we get to a point, it would be good to have it there instead
Yes.
of just in the safety center.
Yes.
Just to be clear, this does not forbid sex offenders from living in the city. Just sets distances from certain locations that they may not live, they may not reside in. Just wanted to clear that up.
Can you expand on the, you said it may allow more of the adult offenders, I guess, but.
Correct. So when we have an offender who's been released or just moving from another county to our county, the first thing we ask them is, you know, what are your offenses? What did you do? Well, what happened was they were telling us that they were convicted of a crime, an adult crime, but we were still saying, oh, I'm sorry, you can't live at that address. It has a pool. It's a child safety zone. That's incorrect. They can live anywhere. This now allows more people to be able to live near a child safety zone if they're not a child offender. So.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's a little confusing.
It is, but it's basically just kind of keeping it on our side, the accountability, because if someone comes and says, well, you said I couldn't live here, but I'm not a child offender, it kind of keeps us, doesn't want to stay up.
There you go, JD. One job.
Any other questions or comments?
And I'm going to pipe in here, just to make sure it's clear. The ordinance provides for a 1,000-foot distance and not a 1,500-foot distance.
Correct. It's parallel to parole and probation's guidelines for whenever they are a child offender, moving to a new city, county, different jurisdictions.
Okay.
Yes, the draft ordinance, I believe, had 1,500 feet. I've handed out a correction that shows 1,000 feet. And that was our city attorney on calling in on Zoom.
Okay.
So just to be clear, we have the correct one with the 1,000-foot,
Yes,
and
you should have the
So that
corrected
the-
one.
Yes. That's what, I don't know how it got changed, but this is correct.
Yes.
gotcha.
Now, could we make it stricter?
You
Where we
can.
don't want
You can.
the sex offender to live by the child place? Like, by, what you were saying?
You want all offenders to not be able to be within the 1,000 feet?
No, I mean, I don't know, it's just,
So, and you'll have to clarify with the lawyer to be, there's just certain things that in the wording, I think you would have to make sure you clarify. But that's how we had it before, is we had it to where all offenders could not be within 1,000 feet of a child safety zone.
does that mean, if I understand, we can't take away from something, but we can add to it?
Correct. It can be modified, correct. This is just what we needed to establish as far as how Texas DPS did it, what other cities did. It was just easier for us to kind of, I don't know,
Yeah.
not get in trouble.
It also helps us keep track of them.
State provisions.
It also helps us keep track of them a little bit better because we have so many RV parks, because we have apartment complexes. They look for those places to stay. And I'm not talking about our child offenders, I'm talking about our adult offenders. They need housing. If we allow them to live in an RV somewhere, that helps us with our accountability. Whether it be a house, an apartment, an RV, wherever, we're allowing them to live somewhere. They're gonna be held accountable. They'll come and register with us. Where if we tell them, I'm sorry, you can't live there, they may live there anyway, and they won't report to us. This just helps us keep track of them better, helps with the accountability of our offenders within our city limits.
Make a motion to approve item 17 as presented.
Motion and a second. Ward 1.
Aye.
Ward 2.
Aye.
Ward 3.
Aye.
Ward 4. Mayor, aye. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Item 18, deliberate and act on first reading of an ordinance amending Article 4 of the City of Rockport zoning ordinance number 1027 by changing the zoning of land located at 520 West Market Street, also known as Lot 8R, Block 73, Smith and Wood Division, City of Rockport, Aransas County, Texas, from R1, First Single Family Dwelling District, to B1, General Business District, to develop an office and warehouse space, repealing all ordinances in conflict therewith, providing for severability, and providing an effective date. And I have a card from Mr. Kelly. Wish to speak?
Good evening, Travis Kelly. I'm the property owner there at 520 West Market Street. Just want to make myself available if there's any questions. The Planning and Zoning Commission, meeting last week, I passed out some pictures of the building. I've got a couple copies here, if it's appropriate. What? Oh, okay, it's in the packet there. So, pictures of the building. It's as the
The picture of the building is not.
No, just the plat, no.
I don't see a picture of the building.
No.
We have seen, the rest of them, we've seen this from
Yeah.
I have some hard copies if that.
No. That's not in this.
Oh,
It's the front and back, and
Yep.
sorry, the first page is the pictures, yeah.
Question, so we're going from R1 to B1. Why such a drastic change for just an office building? Can we go to a lower zoning change on this one?
Well, it fronts Market Street, and the properties on Market Street are asking to be rezoned to B1, so he went to B1 for his business.
So they're asking on Market Street to
Yes,
rezone
no,
to
that was the
B1,
request.
other properties.
Well, they have to come with a request, each property owner, but it's one of the major corridors of, business corridors in and out of the city.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
No, the property owner is requesting the
Right.
zoning changed
Yes.
so it's commercial. But it makes sense because it's on the,
Fronts Market Street.
it's on Market Street, business corridor.
We've recently rezoned some others to B1. Along Market as well, correct? More than
Oh, yeah.
Eden.
Oh, yeah.
More than Eden.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's several of them.
Yeah, because they were, when they were annexed, they were R1.
Family Dollar, more than
There was 2 letters from a couple that should have been in your packet. It's in the packet I have on my computer. What did I send you? I
they're,
probably sent you something else.
Yeah, this one didn't hit the supermajority number.
No, it did not.
Yeah.
So Salia A. Lopez Chavez for Fernando Lopez says the space is too small. You will have to cut down many, if not all, the trees. No good reason to cram a building into a small space. And the other one is Ricardo Chavez, same address, 524 West Market, I apologize. Space is too small for a building for what? More taxes, cutting down trees for a building will make the space and neighbors too crowded. And those are the 2 from the 524 West Market. Oh, that's yours.
And the building, there's a rough drawing of the, like the site layout. It's about 25 foot across the front and 30 wide, so total of 750 square foot building. I think there's also a survey in that packet that I submitted to. Is about approximately, if my mind serves me right, the lot is 68 or 6,500 square foot total area. So it's utilizing about 12% of the property there and that building footprint. And I don't know if you have, any of y'all have gone to the lot and looked, but there's the border of the lot. I don't have a tree survey or anything, but the lot, because you can't buy trees like that, right? So it'll like nestle right in those oak trees that are on the lot there, so.
So you plan on keeping?
Yes, yeah.
Plan on keeping
Yes, ma'am.
trees around there?
Yes, ma'am.
Anything else from Mr. Kelly? Okay.
Motion to approve as presented.
Motion and a second. Ward 1. Aye. Ward 2.
Aye.
Ward 3.
Aye.
Ward 4. Aye. Mayor, aye. Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Item number 19, deliberate and act on first reading of an ordinance amending Article 4 of the City of Rockport zoning ordinance number 1027 by changing the zoning of land located at 1702 18th Street, also known as Lot 103, Block 250, Four and Swickheimer subdivision, City of Rockport, Aransas County, Texas, from R1 First Single Family Dwelling District to R5 Second Multifamily Dwelling District to allow the development of approximately 6 long-term single-family home rentals, repealing all ordinances in conflict therewith, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
My name is Robbie Varner. I reside at 1702 18th Street. I bought the property I'm not a big developer. I intend on developing it if with the approval of the city. But I intend on building some rental places for the sake of my retirement, basically. I've heard all the concerns about the citizens around here about piling things up on properties. I intend on building all these places brand new under windstorm and city conditions. And I would like to be a benefit to my street, not a hindrance. My personal home will be on this property as well. I intend on building it right and correct. That's all I got.
Thank you, Mr. Varner. Anyone have any questions for Mr. Varner?
Question for staff. Could this week be done with a cup? As opposed to R5, if we rezone the whole thing R5, does that at least in the future put 50 homes on it, on the 10 acres?
Yes, if it's zoned R5, he can put what's allowed in R5.
Correct, on R5. Right now, with the intention of just doing 6 of the rental units.
Yes, and my personal home.
And your personal home.
So it will be more than just the,
I guess my only concern would be, we have R1, and then a B1. But if we do R5 in the middle, right there, we could open ourselves to, not necessarily PUD, but, the R5 allowing a lot more than what's anticipated right now.
Yeah, he could apply for a cup. It would work for that. If that's what you'd like to do. A cup is a conditional use permit and it's specific to what you're going to do. There was one letter opposed. It's in the packet that I have. I think I sent you, but you want to check.
I like the idea, Mr. Varner. I love the idea. I think it's going to provide much-needed housing for some of our
yeah, and
for our locals.
also this young lady, the last time I was in here, was commenting about on that there are way too many RV parks in Rockport, and they're modular homes. If we ever have another hurricane, I want to build my stuff correctly to where they can withstand have a better chance of withstanding time and what Rockport has to offer us. I don't want to build junk. I don't want any more RVs. But these will all be brand new homes, permitted and built correctly.
I love the idea, and it's something more permanent than an RV for people to live in. I guess, Councilwoman Jackson, do you have any, what do you think as far as the cup versus R5? Does it bother you out there? No?
I don't think it'll bother, but you're living on a 10-acre lot, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
You're on a 10-acre lot? So you're going to
Yes,
have
ma'am, 10 acres.
all kinds of space left over after building out these 5 spaces.
That's where I'm building my personal home.
Okay, so that's your buffer
That's
from
my-
all that.
that's
Completely
my thing.
understand. We got a lot of big lots out there. I like seeing people on them because we got beautiful area down there. I live on Monkey and 12th. So I'm all for this. I think it's great.
Thank you, ma'am.
Motion to approve item 19 as presented.
We have a motion and a second. Ward 1.
Aye.
Ward 2.
Aye.
Ward 3.
Aye.
Ward 4. Aye. Mayor, aye. Thank you.
Mayor, can we get a 5-minute restroom break?
Sure. It's 8:01. Meet back here at 8:10. Council is in recess. The time is 8:10, and city council is back in session. If we could get, we're back in session, please. Item number 20, deliberate and act on the funding request for temporary bathrooms for the Austin Street corridor from May 26th through July 25th, 2022, and the one-time delivery fee from hotel occupancy tax funds.
Mayor, Council, the city received a request from the Rockport Arts District to help fund a portable toilet for the Arts District during the summer months. I've attached an email for you there. The request is to fund a portion of the cost with our hot funds. However, looking at it, it does not appear to be a valid use of those funds. Last year, the city did participate, and I've got this wrong in my memo to you. I said last year the city did participate by funding 1 month of the expenditure from the city manager's budget. Actually, we funded $2,000 from hot funds. Okay, and I've just told you that's probably not a valid use of the hot funds. So if you guys want to approve this request, I'm suggesting that we find money out of the general fund current budget to fund the request. And the request is for $5,217.50, which is basically 2 months and the delivery fee. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, we did check with our attorney today to determine whether this was a hot fund eligible
That's correct.
expense.
We asked that question today to verify, and this particular expense is not eligible for hot funds.
But I think this is a really needed facility downtown. If we get the food truck park open quicker too, that would help. But where would we find the funding for this?
I've asked Katie to look, but I think we can, well, I know we can handle this within either the city manager's contingency fund, is probably where most of it will come from. And Katie, if you found any other, I'd be happy to have you speak up.
We do have availability within the city manager's budget, and we also, if we did exceed that, which I don't anticipate we will, we do have some contingency within the city council budget that would cover about half of that. So we do have availability to make sure that is able to be served.
Okay.
And I see Ms. Jennifer Day here. She's the one that originally made the request, and Councilwoman Jackson asked for the 52.
And
Jennifer?
when I asked for 2 months plus the landing fees, I know last year, I do believe we extended it out through Labor Day weekend. Was that what happened last year?
Last year, we were, I'm sorry, this is Jennifer Day, 902 East Cornwall Street, Executive Director, Rockport Cultural Arts District. We had the temporary bathrooms from July the 6th through October the 6th.
So I put the request in for 2 months, so basically we would be paying for half, plus the landing fees, which is
Right.
another 200 and change.
Correct.
And I think, you know, with the traffic we had last year, the traffic we're looking at having this next year, it's only a positive. I don't see a downside on this, and, you know, the city throwing in just over 5,000, I think will take a lot of the burden off the downtown merchants, and, you know, everybody's got to go to the bathroom when they're down there. It just happens all the time, so it'd be nice to have one.
If I could also, we've lost patrons because there's not bathroom facilities down there, and that's very well known. But I also want to let you know that ARCAD last year spent approximately 100 hours daily opening the bathrooms in the morning, closing them in the evening, every day for 3 months. And we are signed up to do that again if we can get this approval. And we will also, we raised additional funds from the merchants to extend the $2,000 to make that last $3,000, as well as organizations. So we did a lot to spearhead this last year, and we'll continue to raise additional funds, or attempt to this year, to extend it past the 2 months that the city is considering supporting. So
Is it gonna go to the exact same spot where it was put at last time?
yes.
Anything else?
Motion to approve number 20.
Been a motion for Mr. Brundrett, second for Mayor Pro Tem Villa. Ward 1? Aye. Ward 2?
Aye.
Ward 3?
Aye.
Ward 4? Aye. Mayor, aye. Thank you. Item 21, deliberate and act on approval of purchasing a 2022 3634 Pipe Hunter Combo Vector Unit. Mr. Donahoe.
Yes, good evening, Mayor and Council. This unit is a unit that we are currently renting, and we have a 2016 Vector Combo truck that we use for pumping out the wastewater system and also pumping out the drainage canals and doing some hydro excavating. The tank on the 2016 unit experienced tank failure. We have a very caustic atmosphere here. This is the old truck with a new tank being installed. It is not a stainless steel tank. It is a steel tank, and the steel tank did not last very long, 2016 to 2022. The unit that we're looking at, it should be the next picture, please. This is the Pipe Hunter Combo. It's a smaller unit. This unit does not require a CDL to operate, which is another good thing because there are a lot of folks that come to the city that aren't eligible to keep a CDL. And we've had this truck for 2 months. The manufacturer has allowed us to have the truck for 2 months as a test drive, if you will, and they're going to allow us to use the 2-month rental fee towards the overall purchase of the vehicle. And the funds were approved in the 2022 tax notes when we had our strategic planning meeting, and the total price of the unit is $323,849.
Chief, will we be trading in the 2016? Or
No, we're keeping the 2016 and replacing the tank.
getting a new tank for it?
Yeah.
Roger that.
And we'll have a frontline unit and a reserve unit. This is a very important piece of equipment, and it's always good to have a backup.
Yes, sir.
And this is a smaller truck and get into smaller places. And we've had it for 2 months, and it seems to function very well. All of our employees seem to like this truck, and it's doing what it's supposed to do. And I expect it to last longer because of the stainless steel components of the truck.
Katie, in our tax notes, do you know what we listed for the vac truck? Or Chief, do
We
you?
had 300,000 listed for the back truck. Once we apply the rental, and then we did have a factor in there for overages if we did need it. So we do have sufficient funding in the tax note to cover this purchase.
Thank you, ma'am.
Any other questions?
Move to approve the purchasing of a 2022 3634 Pipe Hunter Combo Vector Unit.
Motion from Ms. Jackson, second from Ms. Hatton. Ward 1? Aye. Ward 2?
Aye.
Ward 3?
Aye.
Ward 4? Aye. Mayor, aye. Thank you. Item 22, deliberate and act on approval of a resolution of the City Council of the City of Rockport, Texas, authorizing, establishing, and approving an economic development policy and authorizing the city manager to process requests for economic development assistance in accordance therewith and establishing an effective date. Now, I've got cards and participation forms that were sent in. And we'll start with the cards in the order received. John Jackson?
My name is John Jackson. I totally support the proposed economic development policy guidelines by city staff for 8 reasons. Number 1, Rockport and the county will grow, and there is no doubt about it. Number 2, the policies will help guide the improvement of the local economy and increase the tax base by attracting additional investment in private sector commercial tax base, which takes pressure off the limited public funding resources as well as the disproportionate share of taxes currently being absorbed by the residential homeowners in this city. Third, in January, the county adopted similar policies to better balance and grow the tax base, and it only makes sense that the city residents receive the same benefit as well. Fourth, approval of these city policies will allow you to control future growth and development by partnering with the private sector to help front or totally fund needed infrastructure like drainage, bulkheads, roads, utilities, broadband, etc. Fifth, the policies will lead to more diversification and improvement of the local economy while providing additional benefits like workforce housing, better paying jobs, and better schools. Sixth, the policies do not allow for tax funds to be used, and any incentives will merely lay out the rules and expectations if granted. Any application which is approved will need to be a good compatible fit for the community and make good economic sense for the city. Seventh, we are competing with 94% of Texas communities who already have such policies in place. And so we're at a disadvantage, especially those municipalities with an economic development sales tax. And last, in order to control and achieve quality growth, these tools will be helpful in setting a high bar for quality that is compatible with our local businesses and with our local values. Bottom line, we need to manage the growth that is coming, and these tools can be a blueprint to help guide that growth in the right direction. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson. Bill Overton.
Bill Overton, 1407 West Terrace Boulevard. I'd like to address this council. Those who oppose the Economic Development Plan policy on number 22 are against the development in this town. It seems like some of the people that are against it actually have other reasons, and some of the people that are against it own big businesses, and they're afraid of people coming in to compete against them. They have a niche in some of the businesses in town. What we need here is something that attracts families, businesses. We need education for our children. We need reasons for our kids to stay in this town. If you look at this room, there's no young people in here. We're all 30 and 40 and 50 and 70 years old. We need something here that brings in businesses, that brings in families, and collect taxes and grow. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Overton. Lolly Overton.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Lolly Overton, 1407 West Terrace Boulevard. And first and foremost, I want to thank you, Council, and all you leaders, county and city, for bringing us thus far after Hurricane Harvey. It's been a big heartfelt lift, and thank you very much for that. I'm just going to piggyback on what Mr. Johnson said. It is very true. This is very good for growth, economic, and we do need entertainment for young children to stay here. I remember when I moved here, I went to HEB, and there was a little young man. I didn't get his name, and I asked him. He asked me if he could carry my groceries to the car, and I said, no, thank you. But then he insisted, so I thought, okay, I'm going to talk to him. I asked his age. He was 16 years old, and he was very sad. And I asked him if he was from here. He said, no. He said, but we've been here since I was 3 or 4 years old. He said, but there's nothing to do for young kids around here. I'd been only here about a month, and that stayed with me. And the longer I stayed here, I did see that. And it is very important for this for this area to grow, because as we get older, there will be room for our younger generation. And I support this item number 22 for the EDP. It is very important, and we need to support them as they have been supporting us. And I just find it very crucial that if we stay engaged together as business leaders, as the residents that live here, we can grow to learn from each other, and what I don't know, I can learn. And I'm all for the growth and the strength of this community. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wood. Deborah Stevens.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Deborah Stevens, and I reside at 2005 Baywood Drive. I would like to thank the mayor and the council for sacrificing your time for the city. Knowing your compensation is maybe enough for a trip to the grocery store once a month, you make up one of the few political bodies left in this country where the term public service is exactly that. It is a shame to see the mayor and council maligned on social media on an ongoing basis. I retired in Rockport in late July 2019 and been primarily in observation mode since moving here, trying to figure out the political landscape. I tried to talk myself out of getting involved in city politics for a second time. I was before. But here I am because I cannot stand by and watch misinformation on social media be unchallenged in the setting that counts, and that is here in front of you. I will admit economics was one of my least favorite subjects in college. It ranked right down there with botany, but the way I read this resolution is it is not an ordinance or a law as portrayed on social media, but rather a policy on how proposals for tax abatements would work their way through the city. It does not give the city manager the power to close deals behind closed doors. It only gives the city manager the ability to negotiate. Any tax abatement that is deemed to be worthy by staff would be brought forth to the council in a public meeting, much like current building and development plans are. It is then at the sole discretion of the council to approve or reject. Perhaps in your deliberations, something might come to light that would change my mind, but I see nothing in this resolution that rubber stamps approval of tax abatements by this council or any future council. If anything, it prohibits any rubber stamping and definitely prohibits behind closed door deals, as contrary to what has been posted on social media as a public meeting would be required. So I'm in favor of you approving this resolution.
Thank you. Jeff Hutt.
Jeff Hutt, 2201 Prairie Road. The reason we don't have more young kids in here because no parents but me want to torture their kids and bring them to this. My children have had a very good time in Rockport and have had a lot of opportunities. But it is not your job to bring young people to Rockport. It is not your job to bring housing. It is your job to provide the roads, the drainage, the park. Stay in your lane. We have a school district that's here to provide for the young people. That's the reason we have separation of government. Now, I don't know of anybody against this development who is a big business owner in Rockport and has some niche business. And I don't know people who are really against it. We just don't want the government picking and choosing who comes in. Government cannot manage economies. You can't give me an example of history where government has. You can say, maybe it can be done, but the right people haven't done it yet. If you look at this development package they're planning, it's tax incentives. And I'm going to use Mr. Meek, because Mr. Meek is our EDC guy, and he's from New Braunfels, and he was with the New Braunfels EDC. The promise that to taxpayers, to residents, is that giving out tax incentives is going to spread the burden of taxes amongst all of us. However, if you look since 2015, never once has New Braunfels lowered their tax rate under the no new tax revenue rate or even the no new revenue rate itself. Every single year they've had tax increases. And I'm going to read you this. It's from the paper. It's called the Herald Zeitung. I don't know. It says this. This is talking about Comal County. The 2021 certified overvalues in the district saw average assessment increases of 12 and 14%. The 2020 values will surpass that, not only indicating double-digit gains for the fourth consecutive year. Most entities will see an increase of 40%. Preliminary assessments yet to be released by the CAD indicate Comal County's 2000 taxable values rose by 24%. I know you guys are hurting for money. I think there's money in the budget. I think we determined that in the last budget process, right? So, listen, tax incentives are going to drive people out of their economy. You're going to raise tax rates. You're going to raise appraisement. Mr. Rios, you even admitted this to the Senate or the legislature when you talked to him. Let the county do the tax. Let the county do the tax incentives. You get the free benefit. You don't have to give the tax incentives. You get the full taxes.
Thank you, Mr. Hutt. And point of information, in fact, I understand there's a video, not for you, sir. Please sit. There's a video out there where I was testifying before TWIA. I've had many residents call me and thank me for actually arguing against the rate increase over the last 4 years. We were able to hold it off. So whoever put that out there, thank you so much. I've gotten a lot of nice comments from that. It didn't have to do with economic development. It had to do with arguing against the rate increase that TWIA was imposing. I was part of a team with Todd Hunter, several other people from all over the state, or actually the coastal areas, and we were able to fight that increase off for about 4 years. So I'm proud to have been a part of that team, and we'll continue to argue against TWIA rate increases.
Sir, you said economic development.
Mr. Hutt, you're out of order, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, we've got forms to read. Yep, we'll start here.
John Burlett, 1307 South Live Oak, in support of. Those opposed to having a policy say that the free market does not need this. If that was the case, why do 94% of Texas communities have economic development policies and incentives? We can put our head in the sand, or we can be competitive and bring in those businesses that we need here for good paying jobs. Vote yes. This will help ease the current uneven tax burden on our resident taxpayers.
Victoria Johnson, 230 Sparks Colony Road, Rockport. No tax abatement. I'm going to read this other one because it was so short. Patricia Stark, 1202 West Mesquite, Fulton. This should be a vote on the ballot, not city council.
Okay.
Sherry Mangum, 118 Pecan Harbor Street, Rockport, Texas. In opposition. Play do not pass, item 22 on the agenda. We will be watching.
Robert Mitchell, 1785 FM 1781. It's going to be in support. Says, my name is Robert Mitchell, and I support the proposed economic development policy guidelines prepared by city staff 100%.
Janae Evans, 30 12th Street, Rockport, Texas, in support of. Dear Mayor and council members, I run two small but successful businesses in Rockport, and I am a strong proponent for adopting the City of Rockport Economic Development Policy. We must manage the growth that is coming to our flourishing city, and the way to do this is to guide the growth through a clear policy which targets businesses which align with our community. Growth without a plan is reckless and lacks foresight. Most Texas cities have economic development policies because they want a balanced tax base, and Rockport's tax base places too much of a burden on residential homeowners. Let's balance it out and encourage a more equitable commercial tax base. Having a policy in no way inhibits the free market process. It simply puts us on a level playing field with 94% of Texas communities, where economic development policies and incentives are readily offered. This is simply a tool and a resource we can draw upon if needed. We are not obligated to use it, but we can demonstrate to developers, business owners, employers, and citizens that we are open for business with entities that help enhance the quality of life for our citizens, including the addition of more medical facilities, elderly care, mental health facilities, more retail and entertainment options and venues, along with businesses that generate good jobs in marine-related businesses or aviation industry, to name a few. And to be clear, we should not seek growth for the sake of growth. We should seek sustainable investors into our community who express an interest in aligning with the vision of our city, whose investment dollars will help to underwrite much-needed repairs to our ailing public infrastructure. Please vote yes.
Jatin Baca, 2950 Business Highway 35 North, Rockport, in support. Urge the council to adopt the resolution for the economic development policy. It seems 94% of communities in Texas have these policies, and all of them are in effect and working, even with shift in political winds. If these policies were so detrimental, we would see a shift away from these policies, and that has not happened. Let's follow the lead of Aransas County and get these policies in place.
Michael Meek, 359 Hunters Creek Drive, New Braunfels, Texas, in support. I am the interim president and CEO of the Aransas County Partnership Economic Development Corporation. My role starting last August was to assist with the long-term recovery plan adopted by all local governmental entities. I gladly took on this interim role as I grew up in this community starting in 1965. I attended elementary, junior high, and high school here. I returned from 1982 to 1988 and worked at the Rockport Country Club Development. I say this to establish that my roots and heart are here in Rockport. I care deeply about this community and strongly believe from experience that communities that don't stay the same, they have to be sustained. And that means carefully managing and shaping commercial growth. Having a policy as drafted by your interim city manager gives council members and city staff the control and proactive positioning it will require to provide citizens with needed services like drainage and street repair and other public services. It will take the pressure off of residential taxpayers to have to fund all these needs. The policy is merely a tool. It is not a must-do ordinance or law. Council can ensure that developers provide new added value to the community as well as needed high-paying jobs. No current tax funds are used. Those that say you are subsidizing business are incorrect. In fact, it will be rare to have a proposal make it to the finish line. They are intended to be difficult to achieve to make sure that the community wins. Some confuse population growth with the role of economic development, which concentrates on commercial growth and job growth. They are very different things. People are coming. That is clear. What is not clear is how the city will provide services without equally growing commercial tax base. I urge you to adopt the economic policy drafted by your interim city manager. This guideline will place you in the position of shaping the tax base growth we all desire and need.
Jonathan Heffron, and it's 210 Champions Drive, Rockport, Texas, in support. He did request that Andrew Hatman, councilman, read this. The proposed EDP is an integral part of the long-term recovery plan agreed to by all local government entities, and it is an important part of the community's ongoing recovery from Harvey. The county recently approved an EDP, and the city should do so now. The EDP is designed to lower unemployment, create new jobs, strengthen local businesses, attract new businesses, and increase property and sales tax tax revenues. Some have objected to the EDP, saying citizens need tax relief and not tax giveaways, and that the city should be picking winners and losers. The EDP is not a tax entitlement program for the businesses. The EDP clearly states that the city is under no obligation to approve any application for incentives. Further, every application must be measured by an acceptable rate of return to taxpayers and must generate additional incremental tax revenue. Taxpayers will always be the winners. Some have asked, why don't city residents receive a tax abatement? The answer is that the EDP is designed to do exactly what has been suggested. It will broaden the tax base so that the city residents or property owners do not continue to pay a disproportionate percentage of the real estate taxes compared to businesses. The ratio of property taxes paid in the city is 87% residential versus 13% non-residential. This compares very unfavorably to the statewide average of 40% residential versus 60% non-residential. This disparity is unsustainable. Every percentage point the city can increase business taxes means a lower residential taxpayer tax burden. Importantly, the City Council has complete discretion on every application and must approve or reject the application at a public meeting with citizens having the opportunity to be heard. I support the EDP and urge the Council its approval of all the resolution.
Jennifer Shaw, 442 Augusta Drive. Dear Mayor, Rose, City Council members, would you feel like a complete fool if a large business asked you to completely forgive payment of City of Rockport? Sorry. Okay, we'll do that again. Jennifer Shaw, 442 Augusta Drive. Dear Mayor Rios and City Council members, would you feel like a complete fool if a large business asked you to completely forgive payment of City of Rockport real estate taxes for their profit-making company, all the while expecting ordinary people to pay real estate taxes to the city? That is what can happen under the ridiculous economic development program plans which are on your council agenda for April 12th, 2022 as agenda item 22. I shouldn't need to remind you that the elected officials of every public agency in San Patricio County got suckered big time in waiving 20-plus years of real estate taxes on $20 billion from Mohammed bin Salman, a.k.a. Prince Bonesaw, Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, in this imprudent economic development deal for one of his investment entities, and there's a link provided. That's $10 billion in taxable real estate and manufacturing equipment, which will go untaxed for 20 years. Do you honestly think a voter and taxpayer living in a $200,000 house or in a mobile home on a lot he or she owns is going to be happy about that tax forgiveness for the big guys? I can't believe that you are reckless enough to do that to Rockport's voters and taxpayers. And don't tell me we retain discretion to say no, because in reality you don't. My dear friends in the City Council where I once lived are being sued for race discrimination under Title 42 U.S. Code 1983 and 1985 for refusing to make a deal with a Korean billionaire who wanted to develop a big real estate project in their city, of which she attached the complaint. Yes, perhaps the world has gone insane with political correctness, but it is you who will leave our city of Rockport open to be arm-twisted into doing ridiculous deals like the Saudi Exxon one, let alone the one that this aggressive Korean billionaire wants to jam down the throat of people who have been my friends for 22 years. Whether you like it or not, if you agree to one of these rip-off the taxpayer economic development deals, you will be forced to give them to every business with even a little bit of muscle, which darkens our doors. If you don't, they will sue the city of Rockport, and you'll end up paying a boatload of attorney fees, feeling the pain from those attorney fees going out of the city's cash flow, and end up settling, giving the development bandit developer the tax abatement and subsidies he or she wants under your policies, which you propose to enact on Tuesday night as agenda item 22.
Bradley Blanton, 529 Oliver Road, Victoria, Texas. In support. Good evening, council. I have 3 companies I have brought into Rockport since Hurricane Harvey. I have a 4th possibly right around the corner. I put my heart and money in what I see as the shiny new pearl of Texas coast. I brought my kids here growing up and now my grandkids. God willing, I will retire here as well. I love the charm of all that this city has to offer. Would not know about Rockport if I was not raised in a neighboring city. I support the Rockport Economic Development Incentive Policy. Let's adopt a policy to bring other businesses that we can choose is best for our city, that can share the tax burden and bring jobs and families to this beautiful town. Growth is inevitable now that the secret is out as being one of the best places to live on the coast. Good job, Chamber of Commerce. Let's entice the businesses that we want before another city does. Bless you for your dedication to the city, Bradley Bland.
Marcella Wright, 418 Cherry Hills, Rockport, Texas, in support. As the city continues to grow, a proper economic development policy is essential. I give my full support. Entities don't plan to fail, they just fail to plan.
Carrie Mitchell, 1785 FM, 1781 Rockport, Texas, in support. My name is Carrie Mitchell, and I support the proposed economic development policy guidelines prepared by the city staff 100%. Thank you.
Blake McDavid, 913 Patton Street, in support. Support the proposed EDC plan developed by staff.
Nancy Boltine, 201 Spanish Woods Drive, in support. Our Aransas County Commissioners passed a similar incentive policy for the county, and I would like to see the city of Rockport do the same. The policy will allow our mayor and council members to be more active in the expansion of our commercial tax base to help alleviate the burden of our local homeowners that pay the majority of our property taxes. The policy guidelines presented allows our city government to have a proactive position when it comes to the growth that we are experiencing and will continue to experience. No tax funds will be given away, as some have been led to believe, but rules and expectations are bargaining tools to assist the city government when approached by developers. These tools can potentially assist with our infrastructures, such as roads, utilities, drainage, and provide our community with much needed employment opportunities beyond hospitality services. Most of the residents that have opposed the policy have had an opportunity to move away for better employment and higher wages. They have now returned financially stable and do not see the need to provide our up-and-coming employment force with that same opportunity right here at home. Others have moved to our community with expectations for it to remain the same, which by the very nature of that move, it has changed. Mayor and council, please consider providing the city of Rockport with an expanded commercial tax base for both existing businesses and future ventures when placing your vote. Please vote to pass the incentive policy resolution.
Brett Bolting, 201 Spanish Wood Drive, Rockport, Texas, in support. I am in support of the incentive policy. Agenda item number 22.
Steve Davis, 2006 Johnson Avenue, Rockport, Texas, in support. Please vote in favor of agenda item number 22. I support this policy and the opportunity it will bring our community.
Gordon Pilgrim, 425 Augusta Drive, in support. Agenda item 22 has my family's full support. Like most communities, we must adopt an effective economic development policy to responsibly grow and shape the town for generations to come. Growth has been and will be inevitable, so the time to act is now. Thank you, Jordan Pilgrim.
Mayor Rios and Councilwoman Hatman, please vote in favor of the EDC guidelines and policies. This is a positive approach to attracting quality growth to our community and encouraging diverse economic outlook for our community. It is important that we have additional industry besides tourism as our main economic driver. Look what happened with COVID when we were basically shut down and did not have the tourists come into our community supporting businesses. This is a very good example of why supporting a diverse economy is essential to jollity and sustainability of our future and generations to come. Respectfully, Karen Miller.
Samantha Dorman, 134 St. Peter, Rockport, Texas. In support, no comment. I'm going to read the next one. That's all right. That was a short one. Andrew Kane, 2106 Lakeview Drive, Rockport, Texas. In opposition. I wish for my counsel to read. This topic has been getting discussed for well over a year, and there has been a huge interest for or against tax abatements and incentives to new developers. This is most likely the next to the last meeting before 40% of the council will change with new elected officials. This topic is also being discussed in detail during the city election season with 2 candidates for mayor with opposing positions on tax abatements. There is no rush weeks before the citizens cast their vote in the upcoming city election to pass something of such importance. Let the citizens evaluate how they want to move forward and by who. Let the citizens vote. I respectfully ask someone on the council to make a fast motion to table this agenda item until next month when the new council is seated. Let's not be guilty of pushing the final pieces of a outgoing administration's plan in the last minute before the citizens vote. We must stop this cycle of ignoring the will of the people and start earning their trust back if we will grow as a community in good faith. To not will again send the message to citizens that their votes mean nothing.
Jatin Patel, 100 Gagon Street, Rockport, Texas, in support. Economic development policy, I'm in favor of it so the demographic can be controlled and grow the town to be a top tourist town in Texas, which will help local small businesses thrive, which will stop them from moving to another town to support their family. Thank you.
Christy Rutledge, 1411 Dana Drive. City Council, I urge you to vote no against item number 22, adoption of economic development policies. In a few short weeks, 40% of the City Council will be new. Like the comprehensive plan, economic development policies will alter the landscape of our community for many years to come. Where is the evidence that economic development is necessary? Growth and development are already coming to Rockport. 2,300 new homes are being built. Our infrastructure is in need of maintenance. As stated in item 22 resolution, Texas Local Government Code, Chapter 2303, Enterprise Zone Tax Abatement Program has been added to the proposed economic development policy. This change was made sometime after the March 8th, 2022 strategic planning session, as evidenced by the city records video recording of the March 8th meeting. However, only Part 1, policy purposes, is included in the April 12th agenda packet. When a city council discussed Chapter 2303 Enterprise Zone in a public meeting? What type of company is the city looking to attract through Chapter 2303 Enterprise Zones? Chapter 2303 Enterprise Zones, Sherwin Alumina, Exxon, and Steel Dynamics were established by petition in San Patricio County. Exhibit A, which contains the economic development policy, have been omitted from today's agenda packet. Why have the economic development policies been withheld from the public? If something must be hidden from the public, it cannot be good or worthy. Is this the way that you want to be remembered as city council representative voting for major economic development policies without providing full disclosure to citizens? Economic development is expected to have a devastating and negative financial impact on housing affordability. Mayor Rio's statements to the Texas legislature that economic development could force some people out who want to live here are further supported by the economic development policy presented to the LGC on October 1st and City Council on February 8th, excuse me. February 8th, 2022, page 112 of the agenda. If projects can exacerbate property value increases that compound existing housing affordability issues and that potentially displace residents, Proactive planning and the inclusion of workforce housing in the project, however, can help avoid displacement and mitigate impacts to existing residents. The city cannot afford to maintain the drainage ponds and ditches. The amount budgeted in 20 and 21 for drainage maintenance was $0. On March 17, 2020, when developer Mark Ward demanded $437,000.
Matt Hesley, 2003 Tully Park, Rockport, Ward 3. Regarding regular meeting Tuesday, April 12, 2022, agenda item 22. Support council adoption of resolution 2022 to authorize, establish, and approve the economic development policy shown in Exhibit A of the meeting agenda packet. I also support empowerment of city manager to proceed under guidance and within boundaries defined in said policy. I believe this action serves to enhance Rockport's capacity to attract and engender safe and responsible growth, and will at the same time resist encroachment of potentially irresponsible and environmentally harmful enterprise. I encourage council to adopt resolution 2022. Thank you.
Chad Lee, 115 North Sierra Woods, Rockport, Texas, in support. To whom it may concern. I am in support of the city of Rockport having the ability to use economic development policy as a tool to help control growth in our community. Our community needs economic development to provide jobs that will diversify our tax base and to allow young local citizens opportunities to work and live in Rockport after they leave our school system. Over 90% of the Texas communities have economic development policies to help their communities to compete for jobs. We do not want to have heavy industry, and our citizens need to make sure that they elect council representatives that reflect that majority view. We do need light industry to enhance our economy that is heavily dependent on tourism. I want our city council to have a tool to guide our growth.
Tammy Redden, 1014 Patton Street, Rockport, Texas. In support. I'm in support of the city of Rockport having guidelines and policies for economic development incentives. 94% of Texas communities currently have policies in place for economic development and incentives. Please vote to approve the incentive policy tonight.
Peggy Mayo, 22 Bahama Drive, in support. I support adoption of the economic development policy.
Donna Townsend, 439 Augusta Drive, Rockport, in support. I'm in support of the city having this in place. We need to start somewhere. Our growth is here, and I would like for it done right, not after the fact. We have a great opportunity before us. You have the tools. Please vote for this policy. Thank you, Donna Townsend.
We're doing this in order. We've got someone that's requested to speak. Tim Jaro.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name's Tim Jaro. I live at 122 Cherry Hills here in Rockport. The city of Rockport has for years maintained an ad valorem tax rate significantly lower than that of the majority of the cities in our area. It's been the goal of those who have served on the council along with the city staff to provide the highest quality services possible to the citizens of the community while keeping the tax rate under control. While the tax rate has stayed comparatively low overall, the tax burden on residential property owners has traditionally been much higher than the state average. While the state average for business to residential property tax collection is 60% business, 40% residential, the average for our county is 87% residential, 13% commercial. This has been the case due to the slow growth of business development in Rockport, Fulton, and Aransas County, and the lack of success in attracting significant numbers of new businesses to our area. Since August of 2017 and Hurricane Harvey, through the COVID epidemic, winter freezes, and summer floods, our residents and business owners have had more challenges than most communities our size go through in twice that amount of time. Attracting new businesses to our city that benefit our people and complement the businesses that serve us already will serve as a long-term asset and help lower the share of ad valorem taxes paid by homeowners. A well-thought-out and implemented plan is necessary to attract and secure new businesses to Rockport and should be approved without unnecessary delay. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. J. Rowe. Nope.
Hold on. Nope, I think it's me. Mark Ure, 3001 Trailer Boulevard, Rockport, Texas, in support. Mayor and City Council, I am in favor of the approval of economic development policy. Without the benefit of Pearl Point Chapter 380 agreement, it would have hindered our ability to secure favorable financing terms. The project helped increase the value of the land and the adjoining land. This increase in the value of the land and adjoining lands helped the city add to its tax value. The improvements are taxed separately, and over time will add exponentially to the tax base. If there is no development, the land value remains the same and no increase to the tax base. I would strongly recommend that we authorize the city manager to proceed with the request for economic development assist through the resolution of the city council.
Shauna Brader, 703 South Burn Street, Rockport, Texas, in support. I support responsible economic development of Rockport, and I believe this plan will support that.
Sergeant, 214 Portia Avenue. Many of us taxpayers and homeowners have spoken out many times already against your desire to grant tax incentives and multi-year abatements to favored developers. You are now in a great hurry to ramrod this unequitable economic development policy through without discussion or our involvement, even though you have a lame duck mayor and Ward 2 council member whose terms are expiring after Memorial Day. If Rockport real estate is in such great demand as many in the chamber claim, you should not be putting favored developers on life support because they shouldn't need special treatment. They should be treated tax-wise like the rest of us, your constituency, i.e. sink or swim in Rockport. We, the public, are already overburdened by city and county property taxes and are getting outraged by your earlier, I'm not sure what this word is, to impose high-density construction and traffic congestion on our beloved coastal town. You spend our funds on frivolous things instead of on basic maintenance. Now you want to favor developers with lower or no taxes and move the burden over on us. It's time you started thinking about supporting quality of life for our residents and second homeowners instead of just overdeveloping short-term rentals for weekend tourists. We certainly don't want the city out. We say no, enough is enough. Please give this important change, not a hurried one, but thoughtful considering all the ramifications on our citizens first. Copied from Irene in Ward 1, who I totally agree with.
Irene Dubica, 1108 South Austin Street. I'm not going to read it. It's the same exact thing that Ms. Sargent just read. So it's word for word. It's ×2.
Okay. And then I've got a speaker, Diane Probst. No? Nope. Oh. This got filed incorrectly.
I object to my comments not being read.
Okay.
I don't know why I'm being excluded, so somebody copied mine. I'd like to speak with my voice or JB's voice or whatever. I don't think that's right.
Irene Dubika, 1108 South Austin Street, Rockport, Texas, 78382, in opposition. Many of us taxpayers and homeowners have spoken out many times already against your desire to grant tax incentives and multi-year abatements to favor developers. You are now in a great hurry to ramrod this equitable economic development policy through without discussion and our involvement, even though you have a lame duck mayor and Ward 2 council member whose terms are expiring after Memorial Day. And if Rockport real estate is in such a great demand as many in the chamber claim, you should not be putting favored developers on life support because they shouldn't need special treatment. They should be treated tax-wise like the rest of us, your constituency, i.e. sink or swim in Rockport. We, the public, are already overburdened by city and county property taxes and are getting outraged by your earlier outs to impose high-density construction and traffic congestion on our beloved coastal town. You spend our funds on frivolous things instead of on a basic maintenance. Now you want to favor developers with lower or no taxes and move the burden over on us. It's time you started thinking about supporting quality of life for our residents and second homeowners, instead of just overdeveloping STRs for weekend tourists. We certainly don't want the city manager to be in charge of deciding who should win special treatment and who should be left out. We say no, enough is enough.
I believe that's it. Yes, sir. Sure.
My name is Kiki Deala, 4418 Highway 35 South. I was just going to share a couple of experiences of having done deals with cities. And prior to coming to Rockport, I built the Laredo Entertainment Center. This was a $120 million public-private partnership. It was extremely successful. We were able to, for the first time ever, Laredo attract world-class entertainment. And as a private developer, we acquired and added additional investment into the adjoining town center. In 2008, I began discussions with the city of Rockport about building the islands of Rockport. In order to build our project, I needed the sewer line extended. In collaboration with the city of Rockport, we were able to bring the city sewer line approximately 4 miles south, allowing for our project to be developed, but also allowed for several other developments that now have city sewer. This sewer extension was fiscally responsible, costing about $1.5 million, and has added well over $60 million in new development projects along 35 South and significant property tax. This was both a good business decision as well as more environmentally safe sewer system rather than a septic system. Working together, it allowed both the city and our project to be successful to the point that we're under construction on our Phase 2 expansion, which will add another 206 single-family home sites, which is valued at about $190 million in new homes, attract new businesses like hospitality, restaurants, retail to our community, and generate hundreds of jobs. Smart strategic incentives enhance the quality of life for all that live in the community. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, council. Any discussion?
Yeah, one thing for Mr. Morton. With the county, the Commissioners Court, when they adopted the policies, they had that 30-day, and Mr. Meek, you may be able to answer this more directly, the 30-day, when the tax payment was approved or brought to the Commissioners Court, they'd had a 30-day waiting period for public input and comment. Is that correct? Is that what Commissioners Court passed?
I believe that's correct.
Yeah, I think that's, may not verbatim, but I think that's was the idea. Is that something we could try to do on ours as well? when it's brought to us, have that 30-day, not necessarily moratorium, but just for more additional public input.
Sure. This is a policy, the state of Texas allows communities, encourages communities to offer economic incentives to possible businesses that may not come to your city except for economic incentives. And as such, this is a policy, and I'm going to say something, but technically, you don't need a policy, okay? The state laws allow, like I just said, cities to offer economic development incentives, specifically in the state law. What this policy does, it provides our economic development partners with direction. What state laws do you want your economic development corporation to use to attract businesses? In this policy, we've identified 4 different sections: 311, 312, 372, and 380. They're all different. They're all used throughout the state to attract business. So if you guys want to add a 30-day option here, we can certainly add it.
I guess I was trying to mimic as much as the Commissioner's Court, so if a developer was to come in, or whoever would be asking for the review of the policy, they would be close. I understand that with 380s and 381s, there's difference between the city and the county, but on that.
Yeah, and again, it's a policy, it's a tool, it just gives direction to your partners, but we can certainly mirror that.
Anyone else?
I make a motion that we approve agenda item 22 with the 30-day verbiage that Councilmember Brundrett has added to mirror the Commissioner's Court.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Ward 1.
Aye.
Ward 2.
Aye.
Ward 3. Aye. Ward 4.
Aye.
Mayor, aye. Thank you. And I am going to take a point of privilege, since this item here from Diane Probst was skipped. Ms. Probst, would you like to speak? Apologize for keeping you so long. Oh, no, we'll give you 30 seconds. Take your time.
Well, under Citizens to be Heard, I had a couple of restaurant owners with me earlier. We were going to talk about the neat Find Yourself in Rockport Fulton Foodie Trail that's being offered to the community to kind of elevate and boost the month of April and focus in on our restaurants. Just wanted to inform the council that we've had about 227 downloads. The pass is active right now between 197 pass holders, and several of the restaurant owners are calling saying that people are walking in asking about the pass, and that they are really appreciative of us highlighting restaurants during the month of April. So I just wanted to make sure that the council was aware of the download. If you click on the website, download it, and scroll through, those are all the restaurants that are participating. There's about 25 of them. Thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you, Diane. Item 23, reports from council.
Let's see, second Saturday down in the Heritage District went off very well this last weekend. I am incredibly proud of our NJROTC folks. They were impressive. If you've ever seen them, you need to see them. They're just impressive. We got lots coming up, Easter coming up, obviously, this Sunday. And I had something written down and left it at home.
Mike.
I know was it this past weekend, right? The Easter egg hunt? I saw that Easter Bunny got arrested. I don't know, it was a song in the back of the car. It was very well attended. The wind, I don't know about y'all, but I'm tired of this wind already. I'm hoping that all my leaves are going to be down on the ground now, so I can get them picked up. But other than that, ditto what she said was the fact that in JROTC, man, they rocked. Real good group of kids. They've done really well, and they're, like the mayor said, they're great ambassadors for the city of Rockport, and they went over there and they represented us very well in Florida. I believe it was Pensacola. So bravo Zulu to them.
Piggyback on that, congratulations to the NJROTC. Fantastic job making Ranch County, Rockport, and Fulton, everybody looking pretty good, as JD calls them, the ambassadors. Ward 3, we got quite a few drainage projects going on. I know it's an inconvenience for some of those right now in Old Rockport and some of our businesses. Seems like we're finding all the water lines in Rockport. And so good news is we know where they are now, and we'll continue to find them. And sewer, water, sewer, same gas. Also, Ward 3, I am working with Chief Stevens, and we're going to try to get together and talk about some of our recent crime issues in Ward 3. I know I'm not alone in the wards of some individuals who are burglarizing us, but we're going to try to get together and have a little neighborhood talk with the chief and see what we can do about that. Other than that, that's all I have. Thank you.
Actually, I really don't have much. Help me out, Diane. When's Lemonade Day? So that we have a couple weeks there. I didn't know if it was in April or not, but I wanted to come there. I don't. And so we have Business Expo on the 28th, I believe, last Thursday of the month. We have small businesses in our area that all work hard, people that live in our town and work and have small businesses that come out and they go to the fairgrounds and they throw their booth out and it's a good time. So please come and support them because I know that they all need it. So please do that. Otherwise, I didn't have much going on in my area. So thanks for coming out today, guys.
They've stolen my thunder, so, but I would like to say that last Thursday, Patty and I were able to attend a movie and a dinner at the Children's Coalition. We're invited by Diane and Mike. And it's, if you don't know anything about the Children's Coalition of Aransas County, you should go to the website, their website, and take a look at it. It's extremely an important, needed component that they're bringing to this community. And if you spend any time there, you can drop in their office anytime you want to and talk to them. But be careful because they're going to catch you. They're going to get you. And it's a great, great project. They're going to have, what was her comment? We're only need about $1,250,000 to get this off the ground. And I'm predicting they're going to get that way ahead of time with what they've got planned. But you should learn about that. It's a great project. Other than that, happy Easter, everyone.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Time is 9:18 and we're adjourned.